Dear students, we proceed from where we ended last time in our subject matter of economics. And the topic that we were dealing with is the market. Last time, if you remember, we defined a market. We said a market is a place where buyers and sellers meet to exchange goods and services. We also said that a market can refer to the situation of demand for a particular commodity. Sometimes a market can refer to the mechanism where buyers and sellers interact to determine the price and quantity of the commodity bought and sold. We also said that for a market to exist, there must be buyers and sellers, commodities to be exchanged, location, where exchange is taking place, the price, and contact. After having seen the conditions for a market to exist, we classified markets. We said we can classify markets according to market structures or market situations, market types. Also, we can say markets can be classified according to time, according to location, and according to commodity. In this, we started analyzing market structures. We said market structures can be classified into two: perfect market and imperfect market. Under the perfect market, we said a market where there is a large number of firms, none of them is able to influence market price. And we said that for a perfect market to exist, we need to have a large number of buyers and sellers, homogeneous commodities, perfect knowledge of the market situation, free entry and free exit. In this market, there is no transport cost, high degree of competition. But we said, if you look clearly at these conditions, you find that the market structure is unrealistic. It's an imaginary market structure. It does not exist in real life situation. Then we started looking at another market structure, which is monopoly. A market structure when you have a single seller of a commodity in the market. We say that for monopoly to exist, there must be one seller, barriers to entry, no close substitutes, and this monopolist is a price maker. And you cannot differentiate between a firm and an industry. Again, if you look clearly at these conditions, monopoly is also unrealistic. We went on looking at the conditions for monopoly to occur, conditions for monopoly to arise. We saw them several, one being government laws and regulations, patent rights, we say technical progress or technical innovations, and others. We also started looking at price discrimination, the process of charging different prices to different customers for the same commodity. And we ended up looking at forms of monopoly, no forms of price discrimination. We said personal, we said local or locational. We also say that price discrimination can be according to time of service, can be according to use, or according to trade. Now, today's topic or subtopic is about conditions for price discrimination. For price discrimination to become possible, what are the conditions? One of the conditions for price discrimination is that price elasticity of demand for the commodity in the two markets must be different. If we take two extreme cases, price elasticity of demand can either be elastic or inelastic. In a market where demand is elastic, you reduce the price. And where demand is inelastic, you increase the price. And normally, in a market where large number of customers are low incomes, it pays if you reduce the price. And in a market where there are rich people, you increase the price. So the first condition for price discrimination is different price elasticity of demand. Another condition for price discrimination, apart from differences in price elasticity of demand, is that the two markets must be kept separate. The two markets must be kept separate. Either be it a local market or be it a foreign market. Two markets. Be that it is the adults or children, two markets. Be it males or females, two markets. Another condition is that it becomes successful if goods and services are sold in special order. No one will question as to why you are selling me such expensively when a person or a consumer has pressed a special order for the commodity. Price discrimination also becomes successful if the consumer is completely unaware of price differences. So we say consumer ignorance. The consumer is not aware that the price at which he or she buys the commodity are different. So there must be consumer ignorance. Another condition is that the commodity must be sold by a single supplier. That the market is dominated by one seller, one supplier, and that there should be no substitutes. It's not to discriminate price when a commodity has several substitutes, because if you increase the price, consumers will run to other commodities which are sold cheaply. So there should be no substitutes. Another condition for price discrimination is that there should be no possibility of resale of the commodities. There should be no possibility for one to buy a commodity from a cheap market and go to resell it in an expensive market. And that price discrimination is also possible through government laws and regulations. Through government laws and regulations. You find this in electricity. You find this in railway services. TANESCO, for instance, has several tariffs, and each tariff pays a different rate for the same unit of electricity. So another point for price discrimination is through government laws and regulations. Dear students, up to now, we have seen conditions for successful price discrimination. Another important item when we deal with monopoly is to know advantages and disadvantages of monopoly. Advantages, merits of monopoly. In most cases, monopoly is accused of having evils upon customers, upon consumers. But there are some benefits which arise from monopoly. One, it limits wasteful competition. It limits wasteful competition. There is no need to compete. As I've said, TANESCO competes with no other big firm to make it waste the resources. No duplication of resources. Another one is that it uses fewer resources for advertisement. Uses or utilizes fewer resources for making advertisements for its products. Another merit, another advantage of monopoly is that normally the monopolist enjoys abnormal profit, supernormal profits. So the monopolist can use the supernormal profits for technical progress, for taking research, which results into new innovations. Using resources, the abnormal profits, for carrying out research leading to technical progress, technical innovations. Another merit of monopoly is that it leads to smooth provision, smooth supply of certain services like water supply, like transport, like electricity. Smooth supply, smooth provision of certain services like water supply, like electricity, like transport. Another advantage, another merit of monopoly is that it leads to efficient utilization of resources. Efficient utilization of resources. The monopolist aims at profit maximization. So will not waste resources knowing that they are going to lead him or her into increased costs and therefore obtaining fewer or lower profits. Finally, another merit of monopoly is that it helps a monopolist to enjoy economies of scale. This implies reduced costs as output expands. As the monopolist goes on expanding output, increasing production, average cost falls as output increases, economies of scale. But there are also a lot of demerits, disadvantages of monopoly. One of the evils of monopoly relates with that act of restricting output. Out of restricting output, out of controlling output, out of reducing output, the monopolist leads to inflation. Which implies prices are forced up. So monopoly leads to inflation, has a tendency of reducing output, creating scarcity so that prices can increase so as he can maximize profit. Out of the same policy of restricting output, the monopolist leads to unnecessary artificial shortages. Leads to artificial shortages. With the same aim of maximizing profit, restricting output causes goods to be in short supply. This harms the consumers. When output is restricted, another thing that occurs is unemployment. When output is restricted, the demand for resources, the demand for factors production decreases. Restriction of output reduces the demand for factors production, reduces the demand for resources, and therefore leading to unemployment. Another evil of monopoly is that it causes production of low quality products. Why? It's because there is no competition. Limits competition. There is no competition. There is only one supplier. So you find that the monopolist can produce the goods of low quality. There is no competition. So at the end of the day, knows that there is no one to compete with. Any product which he or she produces will have a market, will have the customers. So at the end of the day, the quality is going to be poor. When you have a single supplier, you have a single firm, you limit consumer choice. Consumers have no choice of products of their like. They are forced to take what is available. So it's like when you want electricity, no way you have to surrender to TANESCO. Whether it offers quality services or not, you have to buy from that. No consumer choice. Limits consumer choice. There are no variety of goods to choose from. You have to take what is offered by the monopolist. Another evil, another disadvantage of monopoly is that it leads to high income inequality. High income inequality. The monopolist enjoys abnormal profit by charging high prices which harm the poor customers. So in this, the monopolists become rich while customers become poor. Another disadvantage of monopoly is misallocation of resources. Resources are not utilized at their high potential efficiency. No efficient utilization of resources. So at the end of the day, you find that there is a need to control monopoly out of all these evils. That apart from the fact that monopoly has got some advantages, but the disadvantages of monopoly make it important for the government to control monopoly. So our next item that we have to discuss about is on the ways, methods, or policies to control monopoly. Dear my students, before we proceed from where we ended regarding ways to control monopoly, let me provide you with a telephone number which will help you to ask questions regarding our programs, regarding our classes. In case you have any question about this subject or any subject which is offered under Elimika program, please contact us through telephone number, mobile number 0769 04 8594. You can send a message through that number or through WhatsApp or video call, short video, and send it through WhatsApp. Dear students, you may also get us through YouTube channel called Elimika. You subscribe it to see the previous taught subjects and topics. And through the same YouTube channel, you'll be able to get notification of the other topics which will be posted. Yeah, we proceed with ways to control monopoly. We have seen the evils of monopoly as we analyzed them when we were dealing with disadvantages, demerits of monopoly. The government has to control monopoly so as to ensure that the welfare of the people is maintained. Welfare of the customers is maintained and improved. One of the ways of controlling monopoly is through price control. Price control. With price control, the government may fix a price ceiling. To protect customers. In order to protect consumers, the government has to control the prices of the commodities from further increase. Another way of controlling monopoly is through taxation. Tax the monopoly supernormal profits and use the revenue to improve the welfare of the poor. Taxation of the monopoly profits is another way of controlling monopoly. Another method of controlling monopoly is through liberalization. Allow entry of new firms into the industry. Allow competition, in short, I can say. For instance, we can say, before trade liberalization policy, we had only one telephone company, TTCL. But with the liberalization policy, today we have several providers of this service. Liberalization. Another thing that can be done to control monopoly is to adopt anti-monopoly laws. Establish laws which prevent establishment of monopoly. Prevent formation of monopolies. Adopt anti-monopoly laws. Restrict people from establishing monopolies. Another thing that can be done is breaking monopolies. Breaking of monopolies. That the large firms which have established themselves into monopolies are broken up so as to weaken them. Through that way, monopoly can be controlled. Another method which can be used to control monopoly is establish monopoly commission. The monopoly commission has only one task of reporting the evils of the monopolist to the government so as measures can be taken. Form Monopoly Commission. Reporting the evils which are done by the monopolist so that the government can take measures to control such evils. Dear students, to this point, we are through with monopoly market structure, which is under imperfect market structure. We need to go and examine other market structures. Under imperfect market structure, we'll go on talking of monopolistic competition. Monopolistic competition is another market structure under imperfect market structure. Monopolistic market structure is the one with the large number of buyers and sellers supplying differentiated products. It's a market structure where you have a large number of buyers and sellers, but commodities are differentiated, providing commodities which are substitutes. Now, this market exists under certain conditions. Features of monopolistic competition. From our definition of monopolistic competition, we have two features. One is large number of firms. Basically, in most literatures, it is written that there are many buyers and many sellers. There are many buyers and many sellers. Another feature, another characteristic, another condition for monopolistic competition to exist is that commodities must be differentiated. So there are differentiated commodities. These many suppliers supply commodities which are substitutes. In this market structure, apart from provision of differentiated products, there is free entry and free exit. Free entry and free exit. New firms are free to enter into the industry, and existing firms are free to leave from the industry. There are no barriers to entry. There are no restrictions to exit. Free entry and free exit. In a monopolistic competition, advertisements help to increase the sales of the firms. There are advertisements. There is existence of advertisements so that the monopolistic competition can increase the volume of sales. In a monopolistic competition, there is high degree of competition. As I've said in my first point, there are many sellers. When you have many sellers selling commodities which are substitutes, so you find that there is competition among them. And lastly, there is no close interdependence. Each monopolistic comparative firm is independent of other firms. This is what we can say about monopolistic competition regarding the features. To this moment, dear students, we have seen three market structures: perfect competition, monopoly, and monopolistic competition. If you examine these market structures, you recall them, you will find that there are some similarities, but also there are some differences. So, in the first case, we need to know what are the similarities of monopolistic competition and perfect competition. You can recall from my short introduction of today's subtopic regarding perfect competition and what I've said about features of monopolistic competition. You find that in both perfect competition and monopolistic competition, there are many firms. Many sellers and buyers. In both markets, there are many buyers and many sellers. Another important feature which is making the two similar is that in both there is free entry and free exit. We say there is free entry and free exit under perfect competition, and there is free entry and free exit under monopolistic competition. Another thing is that in the two markets, you find that in both there is high degree of competition. In both markets, because of existence of many buyers and many sellers, you find that there is high degree of competition. My dear students, as we go along studying economics, we'll come to learn that in the two markets, the point which is known as the point of equilibrium of a firm under the two markets is found at the point where marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. So, another one is that equilibrium is found when marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. The point where the firm will maximize profit is found at the point where marginal cost and marginal revenue are equal. Another similarity which is existing between perfect competition and monopolistic competition is that you will find that that equilibrium point, which is attained by the monopolistic competitive firms and perfect competitive firms, will be found in the short run when a firm is either earning supernormal profit or normal profit or making a loss. But again, in the long run, they will be getting just a normal profit. Short-run equilibrium is found when either abnormal profit or normal profit is attained. In the long run, just a normal profit is made. My dear students, this symbol in economics, which in mathematics you call it as a pi, in economics, this implies profit. So, in the short run, the perfect competitive firms and monopolistic competitive firms will be getting either supernormal profit or abnormal profit, or making normal profit, or making a loss, or make a loss, while in the long run, these markets, perfect competition and monopolistic competition, they'll be getting just a normal profit. In the short run, if they started by making supernormal profit, it will attract other new firms. We have said that there is free entry and free exit. New firms will be attracted into the industry till when, in the long run, all firms get just a normal profit. But if they started with a loss, firms will start to quit, leave from the industry, making the existing firms, in the long run, get just a normal profit. These are the similarities of perfect competition and monopolistic competition. After having seen what we have discussed from when we started, let's go for a short break. And when we come back, we look at the differences between perfect competition and monopolistic competition.